you have a hard time managing your emotions when life gets stressful? Have you tried tips and tools before, but just can't find anything that works consistently for you? Well, that's likely because you were given the wrong types of strategies for your particular stress style. Today, I'm breaking down the two main ways our brains respond to stress and my top tips for how to manage your emotions for each of those ways. If you're ready to get in charge of your feelings, today is for you. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. Hello. I'm your host, Dr. Abby Medcalf. I still don't have any furniture in my office. If you're watching me on YouTube, it's looking like a ghost town, but I did finally order some chairs. So I hope maybe by the next time I record, there'll be something behind me. Although I do have an adorable sweater on if you wanted to come check me out on YouTube. Okay. You know, I love my fashion. If you don't know, I realize some people don't know that before I jump in that I have an Amazon #1 best-selling book called Be Happily Married, Even If Your Partner Won't Do a Thing. It is great for straight couples, gay couples, whatever kind of couple you might be. I'm really, really proud of it. There's an audio, of course, it's on Audible also. And it's just great. It's to the point. If you like the podcast, you'll love the book. So it's a great way to support me and the work I do. If you want, come on the website, buy a mug. Come on, throw me a bone, Wilma. Buy a mug, buy a little notebook for yourself. You know, I sent out in my weekly love letter last week some journaling prompts. So, just get yourself something. Anyway, it's really great to be here. I've had a lot of questions come in, and they all boil down to managing emotions, right? Who doesn't struggle with managing emotions? My Lord. So it just seemed so appropriate to, do a podcast on it, an episode on it. But of course, I always want to bring something new, something different. And when I was speaking to one of my amazing clients, I'm very, very, very appreciative of the wonderful clients I work with. I learn so much from my clients. If any of you are listening, I learned so much from you. It's really it sounds so corny. It's such a privilege to work with the people I work with. Just a privilege. I end my work days feeling so energized by who I'm engaging with. It's a lucky thing. And I feel really energized after I do the podcast every time. So it's, I'm in that sweet spot. It's a really wonderful place to be. And I'm working with these wonderful people. I'm looking for a different way. And in speaking to a client recently, I realized that there was a whole way of thinking about managing your emotions that a lot of people don't even know about. And I touched on it a little in previous episodes I've done around unhealed trauma. And you might not realize you have unhealed trauma. As always, I will link to those in the show notes. So you can go deeper there, but I'm going to do this in a whole new way. So it doesn't matter if you've listened before or not. This is all here. And what I really like is what I really like that I'm doing. I'm so funny. I love myself. I'm so fabulous. Here's what I'm doing now. Well, I do want it to be helpful. So there's two main ways you can go. I'll get into it. And I've separated out the tools depending on which way. So, because we all have daily stressors that we have to manage. I don't care if that's paying bills, getting to everything on your to-do list, dealing with a difficult boss, figuring out a friggin' healthy plan for lunch is stressful depending on how your life is going. And we all react to the stuff life throws at us in our own fabulous, wonderful, unique ways. So maybe you might be a person who finds yourself very easily overwhelmed in certain situations, but maybe okay in others. Maybe at home it's harder, at work it's harder. I don't know. We all have a secret sauce. You might be someone, I deal with this with different clients who maybe your first reaction is always anger. It's always lashing out. It's always to be pissed when something doesn't go your way. And I know sometimes people think, well, that's just how it is. Everyone would be pissed if it wasn't going their way. And no, That's actually not true. Everyone, I don't get pissed when things don't go my way. And even before I did a lot of work on myself, I didn't get pissed when things didn't go my way. It wasn't how my reactions work. So, and it's in the same way that you might think why it bothers them. Meanwhile, believe it or not, there's something that's bothering you that someone else thinks you're overreacting about. So just keep that in mind as we're judging others or even judging ourselves, that it's again can all be very different how we react. So, but no matter what, how you do it, it all boils down to how you manage your emotions when the stressors come your way, because they will, we know that. If you're here with me now, my guess is that the reason you're listening today is that you've probably tried some tips or tools to manage your emotions in the past, and they either haven't worked, or maybe they didn't work enough, or they didn't stick or something. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I think this is often because there are different techniques that work with the different stress reactions. And you might not be using the correct ones for your own for your own personal craziness. Of course, I say with love, we're all crazy. So that's what I'm hoping to bring different today, and to give you some different tools today to to understand how to manage your emotions. So, and I'm going to be doing this talking about something that's been around a long time, but I don't think I've ever touched on in the podcast. It's so amazing. 38 years of doing this, I got to tell you, there's stuff I've just forgotten that I know, from the past, or that I've just integrated in some way. And the window of tolerance is something I don't think I've talked about, and it's been around a long time. And knowing your window of tolerance, that's knowing, is it really important? The way you handle the stress in your life depends largely on this window of tolerance. Now, he's not dead, a psychiatrist named Dan Siegel, who I looked him up to see where he is now. Right now he's a professor of psychiatry at the UCLA School of Medicine, and he's the executive director of the Mindsight Institute. But back in 1999, way back, 1999, sing a Prince song, he developed this model, this window of tolerance. So, I learned it back then, probably around 2000 is when I started becoming aware of it. And again, we're 22 years later. I can't believe I've been doing this so long, that 22 years ago wasn't even the beginning of my career. But, and I'm going to break it down, as I always do, out of the fancy terms into what you can understand, because it's a brilliant concept. And basically he describes like this window. Yeah, it's called the window of tolerance. It has a window in which there's like a window. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm doing some hand gestures. Picture an open window though. And there's this window where you're able to keep your emotions in check, where you're able to think clearly, to function effectively. And that is your window of tolerance. And when you're in your window of tolerance, you're on the ball, you're receiving information well, you're processing it well, you're responding healthfully, to whatever life is giving you. You've got some equanimity, you're efficient in things, you feel grounded, you make your decisions easier and with more confidence. And it's relatively easy, as you might imagine, to navigate, or to manage, I should say, your emotions in your window of tolerance, and to be self-reflective. It basically means this is where what you can tolerate, what you can deal with, what feels okay to you. Now, I don't think I have to tell you that some folks have a really wide window of tolerance. They have that window is wide open for what they can tolerate. But others, and this might be you, I say with love, have a very narrow one, right? Picture a window that's almost closed. And if you've got a smaller window of tolerance, you see threats everywhere. And then your brain gets hijacked as you react in one of two ways. Okay. So even someone with a really wide window of tolerance is going to, when they get outside of that window, they're going to have these reactions. It's just, for them, they happen less often. Okay. And when your window is smaller, there's not as much room to move. Does that make sense? Okay. So you're going to react in one of two ways. And this is what's so important, and where we're going to start to really differentiate what might work for you versus what might work for another person. So when your brain gets in that kind of hijacked state, you either go into a fight or flight response, or on the other side, a freeze response. Now, I've talked about fight, flight, and freeze all together before for ease of talk, but they really are separate as far as how our body or brain reacts, because our fight or flight response is our sympathetic nervous system, and our freeze response is governed by our parasympathetic nervous system. And I'm going to try not to get too deep into the science on this one. I've done many other podcasts where I go deep on that. And so I want to keep it simple today. You're already outside my window of tolerance, Abby. I don't want to hear all the bullshit about science. Okay. But if you're listening, you like the science. I know you do, because you write it in your reviews. Have you written a review yet? Go write a review, damn it. Come on, give me a break. Throw me a bone, Wilma. That's what I'm going to say all this podcast today. Throw me a bone, Wilma. Okay. If you don't get that reference, you're too young, and I don't even know if I want to talk to you, but I'm going to love you anyway. Go look it up. So we have our fight or flight, which is, again, this one part of our nervous system that takes over, or our freeze, which is a different part of our nervous system that takes over. And this is, again, you moving outside of your window of tolerance. And again, it's going to be much easier if you've got a tiny little window. And what happens when you move outside your window of tolerance, because your brain gets hijacked and you get into that fight or flight or the freeze response, you can't think rationally anymore. You don't regulate your emotions well here. You don't deal with stress well here. You end up either overreacting or underreacting to the stressors that are happening. And whichever way you go, it feels uncontrollable. You react, you don't act. You don't feel like you're in charge of your reactions. That's what happens, whichever side you're on. And by the way, you can go from one to the other. Sometimes people go into the fight or flight, they get really angry, they freak out, maybe they lash out, maybe they can do something very physical, and then the freeze takes over, but because it goes too far. So I just want to say this. So in normal, quote unquote, life, if I have a stressful reaction to something and my little amygdala gets lit up and my fight or flight response, keys in, I'm going to, that's when my sympathetic nervous system hikes on and my hypothalamus lights up, all the things happen, right? To help me be able to respond to this threat, whether that's a tiger chasing me or paying a bill. It doesn't really matter that I'm having this response. And then when the threat goes away, what's supposed to happen is that our parasympathetic nervous system turns on. This is what's also called our rest and digest, or our tend and befriend response. And this is what calms us down. It's your body gets kind of its natural Valium happening, and we feel calmer and we're able to work through our day. If you're relatively healthy, most of the day you're in that kind of rest and digest sort of thing. You're working, you're doing your thing, you get little bouts of stress, but pretty much your system works well. Okay. But what can happen is your system can overcompensate when that parasympathetic comes on, and you get frozen instead of just calm. Like, it's kind of like you go too deep, you go too calm. Right? You go too calm, it goes all the way over. And it's another response to all that. And so what's key about all this is that the effective coping strategies, if your brain goes fight or flight, are different than if your brain goes into that freeze response. And we're going to break down each response right now and the best tools for each. I'm going to do that in a moment. But first, I really want to talk about what factors affect your window of tolerance, so you can hopefully get better at managing those variables, right? Which help you stay in your window with more ease. You want to stay in the window of tolerance as much as you can. And there's factors that affect it that you can control. Some of you can, some you can't, but at least, or be mindful of, or be aware of, or, get your head around. So your window of tolerance can be very different from someone else's, even if you grew up in the same household. I want to say that. And I've talked about that again in these episodes I've done before about trauma, that what's traumatizing to you might be different than what's traumatizing to someone else. And that depends on some different things. Again, it's kind of always a perfect storm. I talk about that perfect storm a lot. But that creates your particular window of tolerance. Okay, so what are they? They are the temperament. And that's that kind of special sauce, that perfect storm for you. That's why in the same household with your siblings, one of you can be really anxious when bad things happen, and one of you can be calmer when bad things happen. A lot of that depends on, your birth order, again, your temperament when you're born. We are born with a temperament, a certain kind of temperament. And all of that mixes together to create something on the other side. In this case, your window of tolerance, what you can tolerate and what you can't. So you don't have much control, obviously, over your temperament or the specific childhood experiences you had, right? That you don't. Although it's good to be aware. When you get more aware of them, you can deal with them better. Another factor that affects how your window of tolerance is right now in your life is the amount of support you received from family, friends, coaches, mentors, growing up and now. Are you somebody who feels like you have a really solid circle of support, people you can really lean on, people who really understand you? That is going to keep your window a little wider. When you don't have those things, it gets more narrow. So one of the easier things I can say is that if you don't feel like you have supportive people around, you need to be in therapy. I'm saying that with all the love in my heart. Go get a therapist. You need somebody in your corner who you can develop a relationship with, who feel really understands you. It is going to help you with this sort of feeling of some ease and not having to be so vigilant, because there's folks in your corner, and there are, which is really good. Another factor, of course, are traumatic experiences you might have had. Again, even if you didn't realize they were traumatic. And again, I did the episode on you might not realize you have unhealed trauma, where I talk about that. So, but that can be a factor now. Another factor are mental health conditions. Now, some of these get developed because of your window of tolerance. You had these shitty childhood experiences resulting in a small window of tolerance, and that resulted in you being anxious or depressed or other things, right? Other mental health conditions, maybe you could have PTSD from childhood stuff, or you could have had could have been raped, you could have been in overseas in war, a lot of things, right? I could have grew up in extreme poverty. There's a lot of things that can create PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, later. And your window of tolerance and PTSD go very hand in hand. Autism is another one. My wonderful stepson, Justin, is severely autistic, and his window of tolerance is very different. He has, again, severe autism. So, a lot of sounds, a lot of people around. Too much stimulation in the wrong ways can really be bad for him. He can't tolerate it. He can't deal with it. But obviously there's very high functioning autistic people too, who again, though, have a different window of tolerance for what they can handle, handle emotionally. Substance abuse. And this can, again, which came first, the chicken or the egg? If you have a substance abuse problem, your window of tolerance will become much smaller. And if you have a small window of tolerance, you might be using substances to deal with that. So sometimes they go together. If you are, for sure, stopping substances is a very, drinking, smoking pot, all the things, cocaine, meth, whatever you do, heroin, pills, pain pills, whatever your thing is, stopping those can very much help you widen your window of tolerance. And I know you might be thinking, well, I'm super anxious and that's why I smoke pot, and it actually helps me be more, accessible to others, whatever. I don't want to get into all that right here. I'm just telling you in general what works and what doesn't. So I don't want to go down that road right now. So if you want to hear all my thoughts about that, you write in and let me know, and I'll do an episode on it. Okay. So that's another one, though. Some of these you can control, again, by taking your medications if they've been prescribed and as prescribed, by doing therapy that's prescribed, right? You can help these conditions and help your window of tolerance. And the other factors that I think you hopefully have a lot of control over that affect your window of tolerance are sleep. Sleep is a huge one. Poor sleep. I mean, when do we talk about having a small window of tolerance? I've got a pretty good window of tolerance, but when I've had crappy sleep, it gets real small. So that's something that you can really help with your emotional regulation. I would say that sleep, more than anything, I swear, is one of the biggest emotional dysregulators that there is, poor sleep. So if you can get healthy, good sleep, please, please do. I did a whole episode on sleep and good sleep hygiene and all that. I will link to it in the show notes, but, or you can just, again, search the term sleep on my website and it'll come up. And physical illnesses, they always, right? If you hurt your back and you're in a lot of pain, your window of tolerance gets smaller. Again, it's like no sleep, you don't have as much willpower. It's very difficult to deal with things. So I would say if you do have some physical problems, I really want to encourage you not to let them just go and think, it is what it is, but to really try to get help for that. I have a lot of back stuff and have trouble sitting and all kinds of things, and I see a chiropractor twice a month, and I do active release technique chiropractic, which is a very specific kind that I find really helpful. But whatever it is, I don't want you to just think, oh, I've got a bad back, there's nothing I can do. I want you to look into ways to help it, because it really, again, will help your mental health. Okay. So let's get into the two types. I talked about this fight or flight response and the freeze response. So let's talk fight or flight first. Now, this is also called, in our psychology world, we call the fight or flight response hyperarousal, and we call the freeze response hypoarousal. So whenever you see hyper, it's always kind of more. If you have a hyperactive thyroid, right, your thyroid is doing too much. If you have a hypoactive thyroid, it's not doing enough. Hypo is always on the kind of slow side of something, or something's not working, up to speed. And hyper is always, think about it. Something's hyper. If someone feels hyper, right, they're sort of operating above the scale. So the fight or flight response is that hyper arousal, right? This is a heightened state of energy. It's a heightened activation state. Your nervous system is on high alert from some threat, perceived threat. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. It only matters that your nervous system thinks it is. And you'll likely be experiencing one or more of the following. So here's how you know if you're a fight flight person or someone who goes to hyper arousal. Let me take a sip of my water. Here's how you know. First of all, there's this hypervigilance. You're someone who might startle easily. You're always noticing anything. What's that? What's that? Kind of person, be that at work, be that at home. You're noticing if any little thing is out of whack. My sister, who I love so much, it has a lot of this hyper vigilance. So I remember having, last time I saw her, I had like a stain on my shirt or something. And it wasn't a stain, actually. It was like an imprint on my shirt of like a logo. And she said, "Oh my God, what is that on your shirt?" I was like, "What?" I'm thinking there's a spider on my shirt. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And, she's like, oh, it's not, it's just a thing, but to get, like, first of all, why do you even care what's on my shirt? Second of all, why would you say something? And third of all, why would you scream it? Like there's a horrible, horrible thing going on. She doesn't know she does it. She's not aware. I mean, she is to a point, but in those moments, again, it's just like an automatic reaction where she notices this stuff. And you might be that person at home with your kids or with your own health. I see that a lot. That's all hypervigilance. Okay. Anger, rage, or hostility, lashing out, if that's kind of your first response and an often response, these are all signs of hyper arousal or this fight flight. Well, that comes obvious with the fight, right? Just fear, constant states of fear, anxiety or panic, right? Anxiety or panic. If that's something that you deal with a lot, you're likely here. Emotional overwhelm, or what we in psychology call flooding. And flooding is when our emotions become too much and uncontrollable, kind of like you're crying uncontrollably or laughing uncontrollably or angry, just screaming out of nowhere. Again, like you can't quite, you're over, it's too much, right? We call this flooding. It's like there's just this overwhelm of it's like you're flooded. Think of how you'd feel if you were flooded, like you're suffocating or choking, just all right there. Racing thoughts are part of this. To-do list, and you're going, just this inability to relax or this restlessness. Another way that this shows up is sleeplessness. It could be or nightmares, flashbacks, especially if you have PTSD, but having these kind of flashbacks. And another thing you can see a lot of physical pain, tense or rigid muscles, pain from this tension that's always there. With hypoarousal, with the freeze response, we see more of like a chronic pain, like a ongoing, but this with the hyper, the fight or flight is more usually from this sort of intense muscle issues or rigidity that comes out. So all of those, if I'm reading that list and you're like, oh, that's me, check, then you want to keep listening. So what do you do if your brain gets hijacked in the fight flight way, right? Because again, we're trying to manage our emotions. That's what I'm talking about today. So, and if your brain is hijacked, you can't manage them. You're not in charge anymore. So we have to do things to help us get in charge. And I'm coming at you with something brand new that I haven't even mentioned before in any of the podcasts today for this one. And this is not to say, by the way, that if you later, as we're talking about hypoarousal or the freeze response, you could use these. I'm not saying you couldn't. Again, and sometimes you might find that you go from one to the other. I'm just saying sort of what's really, really, really good for these particular responses. And you better than I do. So you can try something and see if it works for you. So if you even don't respond to this list I just gave, you could still try these tools and see if something works for you, because we're all a little different. We all, again, have a special sauce that makes us up. So one great technique to try is something called straw breathing. So when you're in fight or flight mode, your sympathetic nervous system is really turned on. And the goal is to get that parasympathetic nervous system to come on board in a healthy way. Again, that kind of calming nervous system pathway, the rest and digest, the cooling off, that's what we're looking for. And a great way to do this is with straw breathing. And because anytime you take a nice, slow deep breath in and exhale very slowly, anytime you do that, you're engaging that parasympathetic nervous system. But if you just do that, like right now, you could try it. If I was like, okay, breathe in slow, breathe out slow, right? You might have like a few seconds of that, right? Let's say 5 seconds if you're breathing out slow, even 8, who knows what your count could be. But if you do it through a straw, it goes even slower. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to have the slowest exhale you possibly can. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get yourself a straw. I recommend a metal one. I have one, if you're looking on YouTube, right here in my cup. I'm going to take a sip of water right now. But I use this straw, this metal straw. I just take it out of my cup when I'm doing this exercise. So I want you to, and when you use a metal straw, you can carry it around with you. Excuse me. You can carry it around and reuse it and have it in your car, somewhere else. A regular straw can get kind of gross doing this. Plus, it's good for the environment. And how come we don't want to be good for the environment? Of course we do. So then you're going to set a timer on your phone for 2 minutes, or a regular kitchen timer. I love my kitchen timer. I'm waving it here in my office. Just set a timer for 2 minutes. I don't care how you do it. And what you're going to do is take a long, slow, deep breath in through your nose. And then you're going to exhale slowly through the straw. And the straw is going to force you to exhale more slowly. It's just a smaller space. And you're just going to repeat that until the timer goes off. That's all you're going to do, is repeat it until the timer goes off. Excuse me, now I need more water. Hold on. So again, when you breathe this way, all you're doing is slowing down your exhale through your mouth. And again, the slower the exhale, the more calming it is to your system. So to me, this gives you the most bang for your buck, right? When it comes to calming yourself down. Can't beat that. Here you go. I know, right? Look at the love you're getting today. Number 2, and you knew this was coming, I hope. If you've been listening at all, if this is your first podcast episode, welcome. So nice to have you here. If you've been here for a minute, which I know tens of thousands of you have been, thank you. Meditate is going to be the second thing I say, very specifically here. Okay. Meditate daily for 15 fucking minutes. Damn it. Damn it. Meditate 15 minutes. What, Abby? Yeah. Is this yet another way meditation will improve my life? Why, yes, it is. I'm so glad you asked. I talk about meditation so much because it's a game changer when it comes to managing your emotions long term. I'll keep pushing you to start meditating and talking about all the ways it makes your life and relationships better. I'm not going to give up because I love you that much. So I think you should just give in now. Why do you fight me? Why do you fight me so? I love you so much. Come on. Why? You know, I give you the gold. So I'm telling you the meditation's the gold. And it's okay if you've listened to the last 200 plus episodes and haven't meditated. It's never too late to start. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Guess what the second best time is? Today, right now, tomorrow morning, plant that fucking tree. Oh, I'm swearing because I'm just, do it. So because I love you so much, I'm calming now, but because I love you so much, I have my free meditation starter kit. You can get it on the website. abbymedcalf.com. Go to the shop page. You don't have to put in a credit card. I'm not sleazy. I'm never sleazy. Or you can just buy my little program, learn how to meditate for 15 minutes in just 15 days. It's the way I meditate. It's what I teach to my clients. It's what works. It's $11 and 11 cents because I'm so cute. I made it 11.11. Just go get it. I don't know what to say. Come on. I can't be ripping you off for $11.11. You know, I'm just giving you love. So it would be such a good thing to start doing. Give yourself a little thing for 15 days. Just make it happen. The research says it's the way to go. And it's the most effective tool I've seen in my 38 years of doing this work. I'm not saying you can't get well without it. Of course you can. I just say in my loving Jewish mother, pushy, bossy way to please start meditating. That's why I've made it so easy for you. Okay, that's number 2. And number 3 is something called cognitive reframing. And I previously taught you how to stop overthinking and to let things go. That's the name of the podcast episode, how to stop overthinking and let things go that are bothering you. That's what it's called, how to stop overthinking and let things go that are bothering you. But I want to quickly review a piece of that here called the cognitive reframing, and just to say it. So go listen there. I go deep into cognitive reframing, but when you're in fight or flight mode, your mind is racing. That's one of the things that happens. And cognitive reframing is such a great tool to help you slow down and get back in charge of your thoughts. And all cognitive reframing is it helps you look at a situation, a person, a thought, or a feeling from a different perspective. It's just a way to do that. You're cognitively, you're mentally reframing it, re-looking at it. It's a strategy that helps you open your mindset. It's like to a new point of view, a new angle on what's happening. And it's really just so that you can think differently about whatever the thing is and learn how to let things go. That's what happens. And it's crucial because, what do I always say? You feel the way you think. So if you want to change your feelings, if you want to manage your emotions, you absolutely positively must learn to manage your thoughts, to change your thoughts. So changing your thinking about something will change your feeling about it. That's how it works. And I cover my 5-step process for reframing anything that's happening to you in that episode. So be sure to check it out. And for now, knowing that stopping to address your thoughts is a key. Like for now, that's what I want you to know, right? To shifting that out of control feeling, to shifting out of that. That's what I want you to get. So in any way, you feel the way you think, change your thoughts, change how you feel. It's golden. Okay. And I give you a 5-step process to do it. Come on. And it's all on its own because it deserves its own attention. All right. Are you doing the straw technique right now? Did you stop listening? Because did I lose a bunch of people who are running to find straws right now in your house? Go to Target, get some reusable ones. Okay. Let's get to the freeze response. My freezers are listening like, come on, Abby. So I did you second. Given up, so I had to give it to them first. They're off finding their straws right now, so it's just us, our freezers. So the freeze response, again, is also known as a hypoarousal state. And again, if the fight or flight is overactivation, this hypoarousal is all about underreacting. And in this case, it's kind of, you've got too little arousal. It's usually as the result of your parasympathetic nervous system just being totally overloaded. It's so overloaded, it can't even get anywhere. So let's talk about the symptoms, the hypoarousal or freeze symptoms. So do you have this? Is this the way your brain gets hijacked? So they include having that feeling of being zoned out, depression, or what we call flat affect, where it's just sort of like the monotone same kind of thing, where there's not much happening in your voice. Numbness, emotional numbness, feeling spacey, lethargy, a lot of you feeling really lethargic or oversleeping a lot, like you can't get enough sleep. It's really a major shutdown mode. So if you think of it that way, that can help too. I see here often some exhaustion or chronic fatigue here. Again, that kind of lethargy, this exhaustion, this chronic fatigue. We also see disorientation, emptiness, dissociation or disconnect. I said disconnection, didn't I? Okay. But dissociation, all that can be in here. So what do you do for the freeze response? I've got 3, I think 2, 3, or some, I got a few. So, and these are relatively simple. And again, you can use some of the other ones if you want from the, you can use the straw. You're allowed to use the straw technique if you think it'll help. But what happens is, I don't want you, you're kind of overly calm. So something like the straw technique right away, you can see how that's really not the way to go. We're not trying to make you calmer, even though in a way we are, because it's what you have is like a false calm. It's not really calm because it's like swirling, right? In this lethargy and this sort of overwhelm. So we want to shift out of that. So number 1 is fake it till you make it. How do you like that? And let me be specific what I mean. So our nervous systems, they take cues from each other, right? That's what happens a lot. So having this motto of kind of fake it till you make it can be very useful. And this means for you that you can make some physical changes that are very simple that will help shift your mood and this kind of frozen response that you're having. So I know, believe it or not. So it just includes sitting up straighter. If you're sitting, even right now listening to this, sit up straight, put your shoulders back, really get in that, use the we call it the Superman or Superwoman pose, the power pose. You can do it anywhere. You can even do it sitting. It's better if you stand up for a second, but chest out, shoulders up and shoulders back, not up, not scrunched, but back and down. Really feeling your diaphragm being tucked in. I'm doing all this here. Again, you're watching me on YouTube, you see it all. And really getting into that thing and looking up, look up to the sky, raise your chin. All of this will absolutely positively, I know it sounds too simple to work, but it works. Help you kind of fake it till you make it, shift some of that energy, and have this nervous system talking to your other nervous system. Physical movement of any kind, get your butt up as much as you can. So don't look for economy of steps. So for example, one of the things you can, if you have a printer at home and you do a lot of work where you have to print things, or at the office, you don't use a printer on your desk. Make yourself get up and walk to a printer in another room. Don't think, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. So when I do that, I'll go grab some lunch or I'll go do this thing. Nope. Go to the bathroom, come back to your desk, get your bag, then go to lunch. Do not order in. Stop ordering in. Get rid of all your DoorDash stuff, Grubhub, whatever you're using. Go out and get food, or stand up and make food. Just get yourself moving. Believe it or not, even speaking louder and really noticing your voice will really help. It's simple. It's a great strategy and it really works. So don't poo-poo it till you tried it, because you'll see it works. Number 2 tip are, I call it grounding and a question. Okay. So because I love you so much, who loves you like I do? Nobody. Maybe your mama. I don't know. I adore you. So I'm going to give you, I have a list of grounding exercises that you can download. Come over to the website, abbymedcalf.com. Just come on over. You can get it on the relationship tips and tools page, where I'll have a blog post about this topic written, or you can get it on the show notes page, where if you just hit on podcast and go to that, podcast, you can do either one. And I'm going to list the top 5 grounding exercises from the research, and they'll all be there, and you can download them. It's like 1 page or 2 pages. They're super simple to do. There's a lot of them. The one I talk about a lot that's really easy is just to pick a color. If you're really feeling this way, because what's happening when your brain has been hijacked and you're in this freeze response, you want to get yourself back into the here and now. You want to get yourself back into the moment. And so what you can do really quickly to do that is to pick a color, any color. You might say blue, and then you look all around the room and start naming the blue things. Oh, my shirt is blue. The screen on my computer is blue. That chair is blue. You just start naming it, and it brings you out of that crazy, scary response that where your brain is hijacked, and brings you into the moment. Okay. Brings you into the here and now. You're now, you're not getting taken away by this. I keep hitting my microphone. I should stop. It's super simple. They're highly effective. But here's what I want you to add to that. So after you've done the grounding, which is great. So now you've grounded, you're back in reality. Here I am. I want you to then ask yourself, I'm trying to keep the momentum going, because part of the freezing is that there's no momentum, right? With my fight fleers, there's tons of momentum, and I'm trying to slow it down. With my freezers, I'm trying to increase momentum, I'm trying to get you moving, and an object in motion stays in motion. So here we are. I got you looking at things. I got you grounded in the moment. So now I want you to ask a question. What can I choose now? That's what I want you to ask. So you grounded, you do your thing, any one of the exercises you can download, and then say, what can I choose now? Because it's always a choice. What can I choose now? I can choose to get up and wash my face. I can choose to call someone. I can choose to make a list of the things, of the ways that I'm going to help myself this week. I don't know. I can choose to make a schedule, so I stick to a schedule tomorrow. I can choose to out myself with someone and let them know that I have to be to work tomorrow no matter what. Whatever. What can I choose now? Obviously in the positive, obviously not in a beating up way, or don't say I can choose not to be an asshole. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. It has to be in the affirmative, has to be in the positive. I can remember that I have choice every minute. I can be mindful, whatever. This is a way, again, to keep some momentum moving in a healthy direction, because that's what we're trying to do. That's what you're doing. And then number 3 of my little tips is to breathe with a mantra. So having a mantra at the ready when you're a freeze person is really good. Again, this can work if you're a fight or flight person, but I'm giving it here too. So have a mantra at the ready. It's so good when you're feeling paralyzed or stuck. It's a great way, again, to get moving again. We're always looking for movement, for forward momentum. So, and you can choose anything as your mantra as long as it satisfies 2 guidelines. Okay. 1, it needs to be uplifting in some way. It needs to be uplifting in some way. And it doesn't have to be crazy uplifting. It doesn't have to be puppy dog tails and rainbow. Just, kind of pointed in the direction you want to go. And the second thing is it has to be something you can believe. Okay. Has to be something you can buy into in some way. So there's tons of them. Tons of them. Everything is figure outable. I've always found a way before, and I'll find a way again. Right this moment, I'm safe and I'm okay. I can do anything I set my mind to. All is well right here and right now. I choose to be calm and at peace right now. I'm letting go of anything not in my highest good. Right? I mean, these are just literally off the top of my head. I'll try to remember some of these and write them in the notes and in the blog post, but right. I, anything that just is right there, right now, that's a mantra, but have it at the ready. You don't want to be in this yucky place and then trying to think of something, because from the yucky place, it's too hard. But if you already have it, you know what it is, you to couple that with easy belly breathing. And what I want you to do very specifically is place one hand on your belly and the other hand on your chest. You're going to breathe and you're going to ensure that only the hand on your belly moves. And there's no breathing out of your chest. When you breathe out of your chest, your brain gets excited, like thinks you're going to fight. It gets anxious. You can feel it, right? And that is not, a little of that is actually okay for you because you're so in the freeze, but we don't want much of that. So what I want instead is for you to just be saying your mantra as you take breaths in and out, just a nice cyclical breathing. You don't even have to do anything super long or super anything. I know sometimes people get very anxious when they're told to breathe in, take a long, slow breath. So if you get anxious, don't do it. That's not the way to do it. Just breathe, but feel your stomach expand and your hand, that hand rise as you exhale, right? Wait, let me think. Hold on. Oh yeah, wait, you inhale. Sorry. So you're going to inhale and your stomach should go out. You should feel that hand that's on your stomach go out as your stomach extends. And then as you exhale, your stomach will contract and you should feel that hand come in. And that hand on your chest should not move. And you're going to do that now. And then I want you to recite your mantra silently in your head along with your breathing. Okay. So you might breathe in, all is well, right? And feel your stomach expand, all is well. And then as you breathe out and you feel your stomach constrict, you might silently say to yourself, here and now, all is well, here and now. All is well here and now. I mean, use whatever works for you. Again, as you focus on your words and the breathing, right? That's what I'm looking at. There's a, when I very first learned to meditate decades ago, I hope it's Sanskrit. You can come for me if it's not. It's Hamsa, and it means I am that. So meaning that we're connected to all things, right? So we would meditate on this mantra, Hamsa. And I love it because I can breathe to it really easily. I can breathe in Ham and out Sa, right? Or I can even be on the inhale with Sa and Hum, like however I want to do it. I tend to do inhale with Hum and out with Sa. And it reminds me, and for me, I start to visualize that I'm connected to all things, that I'm not alone, that I am that, I am you, you are me. All things are connected, right? That for me helps. So again, you got to find your own way through this. You have to find what feels right for you. And so that's probably going to take some, trial and error. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't get down if you can't figure it out right away. It's okay. Just give yourself a little room to do it. All right. I want to say just some last things. And one is that, before we end, I want to talk about, this need for recognizing your window of tolerance, for understanding it. All the great tips I can give you in the world won't work if you don't have some self-awareness about your own personal window of tolerance. And there's really just two main ways to get better at that, to get better at knowing your own window of tolerance. And that is, of course, increasing your self-awareness so you can identify the situations, the people, the triggers that make it hard to manage your emotions. You got to get real about that. And the second thing is and they're really hand in hand, is to practice day-to-day mindfulness so you can identify how you're feeling in a moment. And that also helps you prevent getting triggered at all. It really does. It puts you on the other side of that. So those two things, and I'll link to them again in the show notes. I did a whole episode on self-awareness. I've done whole episodes on mindfulness. Obviously, there's the mindfulness starter kit on the website for free because I love you. All of it's there. Okay, so today was, I think, chock full with some very actionable tools. I was very happy when I finished, putting together today's episode, because I really feel, I always want you to walk away with a win, with one small thing you can do. Just and I want to say that too. Don't try to take on everything I say in every podcast. It's a lot. I give a lot of tools each podcast because I'm really hoping that whenever I would get one tool, when someone would say to me, do this. If for me, number one, I'm contrarian. I'm like, screw you. I don't want to do that. You can't tell me what to do. Right. Um, but more than that, I often felt like things didn't fit me. So they would tell me this thing to do and I'd be like, eh. And then I would sort of throw the whole thing out because I can be that judgmental. And when I had multiple, when someone say, well, try this doesn't work, try this doesn't work, I would feel more open. I'd feel like the person wasn't just trying to shove something down my throat. So that worked better for me. And I always try to give you what works better for me and for my clients. So that's why I give you lots of tips, but I don't want to give you lots of tips and overwhelm you because I love you. And so I want you to feel like you can really, just pick one thing and go with it. See if it works. See if you like it. See if it feels good. Remember to come on over to the website and download all the free, there's tons of free, wonderful things today, or you can buy the meditation little course I have. It's like a little album. It's so cute. Whatever you do, I really want you to do something to help yourself. I want you to take action. You absolutely, believe me, can get better at managing your emotions. You really can do this. These are things that if you went to therapy, the therapist would be telling you. So I'm the psychologist. I'm telling you these things work, and there's no reason you can't do this on your own and make it work. Okay. I'm here for you. I just want to give you things that I know are going to help your life. That is it for today. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for listening this long if you are. Thank you for the reviews that were recently put up. Oh, so nice, so lovely. Really appreciate it. Again, if you haven't yet, please rate me on Spotify, a review on Apple, and subscribe on YouTube. Really helps me there too. If you subscribe and like the videos, lets other people know there's good information out there for them. I adore you. Have an amazing, amazing week, and I will talk to you real soon.